When you hear the word addict, what comes to mind? Did you think of someone with a needle in their arm, maybe a bottle in their hand, or maybe you thought of a loved one you once tried to help? Did anybody think of me? My name is Iyesha, and I am an addict. I stand corrected. I am a recovered addict. You see, research says that addictions like mine are just as detrimental as any other addiction, yet it hides in plain sight. The irony of my story is that I just so happen to be an addictions counselor. You see, I have a master's degree from South Carolina State University in counseling, and I have an advanced certification in addiction studies. All that really means is that I have the education, I have the professional lens, and the professional skills to recognize and diagnose addiction in others. However, I was not able to see how it had its hold on me. When we think about addiction, typically we think about drugs, alcohol, maybe even gambling. But addiction can be anything that we do over and over again, despite the negative consequences, okay? So what if addiction is not just drugs and alcohol, but relationships? What if it's not opiates or fentanyl, but people? Love, validation, acceptance, approval that becomes our drug. One that looks like love, but feels like loss. One writer called it the silent twin of addiction. And the term for it is codependency. Codependency is an emotional addiction to people, needing to be needed at all costs, typically at your own detriment. Codependents, like my old self, used to attach our value and our worth to the opinions and validations of others, preoccupied with their approval. It's typically rooted in low self-esteem, fear of rejection, and fear of abandonment. Codependency is just as deadly as any addiction. However, it doesn't just kill the body physically, it kills your sense of self, your sense of worth, and your sense of identity. When I hit my rock bottom, listen, my resume was pretty impressive for a girl from the south side of Columbus. You see, I had been in the military, active duty for 6 years. I deployed twice to Afghanistan in support of Operation Enduring Freedom. I had 2 master's degrees, and I was an alum of Clark Atlanta University. But none of that stopped me from having to do my own inner work. I decided to engage in some deep-rooted therapy called EMDR. EMDR stands for Eye Movement Desensitization and Reprocessing. It's a type of therapy for individuals with deep trauma and post-traumatic stress disorder, or PTSD. When I went to the therapist and he began to give me the process of this very structured therapy, he asked me to recall my oldest memory and most least distressing. I began to think. I immediately thought of 3rd grade Iyesha. I was 8 years old. That's when I first experienced what rejection felt like. I was bullied so bad, y'all. Not just teased, but isolated, torn apart, made to feel like there was something fundamentally wrong with me. For years, 3 years to be exact, 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade. Bullying didn't just wound my confidence, it literally rewired my sense of identity. And research says that children who are bullied are 3 times more likely to experience anxiety, depression, and low self-esteem. From that experience, I developed what psychologists call a hypervigilant nervous system, which simply means that I was always on alert for danger, always scanning for disapproval. When my father went to prison, I had already practiced being in darkness, being invisible. That silence became the soil from which my codependency grew. Right when I didn't think anything else could happen to my 8-year-old self, my father, my protector, my superhero went to prison. For 18 years, my father will be gone. 18 years of missed birthdays, graduations, and just days when I just needed my dad. Research says that girls, especially with incarcerated parents, are 3 times as likely to experience low self-esteem, anxiety, and depression. From this experience, I had developed what psychologists call insecure attachments. What that means is that in my brain, something will whisper, love will disappear at any moment. So just hold on tight. And it was not healthy. This is the silent epidemic that nobody is talking about. Because codependency doesn't come with a headline. It comes with burnout, meltdown. It comes with blurred lines or no lines at all. So when I had my aha moment or my emotional sobriety, I was in my 2nd session of EMDR. And as I began to tell my story about the 8-year-old Iyesha being severely bullied and my father going to prison, I began to cry so bad, you guys, like uncontrollably, out of nowhere. And in that moment, I realized that Dr. Bessel van der Kolk was correct when he said the body really does keep the score. In that moment, I realized that the old survival skills that I was using when I was 8 were still showing up in my adult life in my 40s. And it was impacting my relationships and my overall well-being. In that moment, I realized that that was it. I had been using the same coping skills from when I was 8 to keep myself alive. Healing for me meant reparenting the little girl who thought something was fundamentally wrong with her. The little girl who thought I had to earn love to keep it. I started asking myself questions like, is this love or is this really fear? And then slowly, one day at a time, I began to stop calling chaos home. I stopped romanticizing the struggle, and I just decided to cut and end unhealthy relationships, people, places, and things. So here's my challenge to you. Ask yourself, what are you calling love that might be fear? Maybe it's that you are always the strong one. You're the one that always shows up and never says no. What I want us to remember today is this. Recovery is not just for individuals with addiction. It's for anybody who's ever lost themselves trying to keep it all together. So today, as a licensed professional counselor and a woman with lived truth, I am honored to help people understand that we cannot heal others from the pain we have not healed within ourselves. And what I want you to remember is this. When we heal the gardens within our hearts, we not only heal our past stories, we heal generations ahead of us. Today, I am healing for my 3 girls, Nyla, Maya, and Layla, and for 8-year-old Iyesha. Thank you.